What's going on, my fellow Kino Lords? So today I'm going to be talking about Trap, which is written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. So before I dive into this review, let me just let it be known that most people that know me consider me to be a M. Night Shyamalan apologist, because it seems like I'm always on the defense for that man. Whenever anybody starts shitting on him too much, I'm always trying to defend him. And that's mostly because I think even though he's made a good train of dog shit movies, at the very least, I admire that he is clearly a passionate filmmaker and artist that is at least trying to put out original ideas out there. I mean, especially in this day and age where I feel like, you know, in terms of mainstream cinema, it's a lot of just rehashes and a lot of, you know, just bland, run-of-the-mill, conveyor belt, manufactured bullshit that, you know, I don't respect at all. And M. Night is at least, you know, a mainstream kind of filmmaker that is again, just at the very least, he's trying to put out original ideas that, you know, I find refreshing. So, again, even though his bad movies are shit, I can at least respect the guy for the kind of filmmaker that he is. Even with movies like Signs and The Village, a lot of people don't really like those movies, I guess. They consider them to be mid or just straight up bad. I think those two are actually great movies. And in terms of his most recent movie, Knock at the Cabin, I enjoyed that movie too. I didn't think it was like really great, but I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable for the most part. Runs into some fucking M. Night Shyamalan-isms that I wasn't a fan of, but overall, it's a good movie. So that being said, walking out of Trap, I gotta say, this movie was kind of embarrassing in a lot of ways. Not that M. Night Shyamalan should be embarrassed for what he made, but I just felt like secondhand embarrassment watching it, because it's just so, it gets really fucking ridiculous, and it gets just goofy, and conceptually and narratively and character-wise, it just felt so fucking like messy and nonsensical. And it got to a point where I really just couldn't even enjoy this movie anymore. I mean, I think like the first act and some of the second act were pretty engaging, because Josh Hartnett's character does an excellent job at, again, like portraying this fucking psychopathic serial killer character that, you know, has OCD issues and has mommy issues, and, you know, apparently really loves his daughter a lot. And, you know, again, I think like for the character that he has to portray, it is quite demanding because of the roller coaster of emotions that he has to portray with his face and his body language. It was impressive, and I thought I think he might be the greatest part of the movie, because without him, I don't think there's like almost any enjoyment in it. And so like, yeah, like there's things about it that I like. I like the main performance, as I said. I think the actress that plays his daughter did pretty damn good as well. And in terms of some moments that are like suspense thriller movie moments, like, it's directed quite well, and I felt, you know, genuine tension, and it was engaging. But then, I don't know, it's just the more the movie progresses, the more fucking goofier and just poorly written it gets. And I don't just mean poorly written like with the dialogue, even though this movie does have that Shyamalan poorly written dialogue that a lot of people hate, and even I don't like, where it's just so fucking expositional, where you have characters like straight up looking at the camera, just dumping a bunch of information onto the audience. And it just, I just hate it. You can say, oh, he's being self-aware with it, but it's just, to me, it's just a really lazy way to get the audience to understand information. Self-aware or not, it's just, there's a lot better ways to get the audience to understand what's going on than having characters literally look at the fucking camera and go on a monologue about everything that's going on. And it was just, there's moments like that are just really frustrating. But I didn't mean poor writing in terms of that. I really meant just like in terms of concept, and in terms of like plot and character decisions, and just like the narrative writing. It just was kind of baffling and overwhelming, the kind of writing decisions that were made here. Like, again, like this might be a bit of a spoilery review. So honestly, I might just get into some of these spoilers here, because it's hard for me to describe exactly why I didn't like this movie without me being specific. So if you're just kind of done and you just don't want to hear any spoilers at all, just know that I didn't really like this movie, and I don't really recommend watching it in theaters. If you want to watch it like streaming or something, whatever, fucking go for it. But I wouldn't pay ticket to see it. But so yeah, in terms of like what happens in this movie and in the story, it was just so like, it was hard to wrap my head around it, because it was just no matter how I was trying to excuse things or make sense of things, nothing was fitting. Like, you had this fucking concert that they're setting up as a trap to catch this fucking serial killer guy, the Butcher, which is a super fucking obvious and like conventional name to give your serial killer. And we learn later, well, first of all, as I was watching it, I was like, what's the criteria here for how they're catching this fucking guy? Because they're literally like, there's parts in this movie while they're at this concert where they're just like tackling and like detaining like men like in their 30s and 40s. Like, just like, is that all the criteria you have? Just a man in their 30s and 40s and you're just tackling them and wearing a jacket or something? It just seems like if you don't have a photo of this fucking guy, then how can you like justify closing off an entire concert and, you know, risking the lives of a bunch of children? Because this is like, you know, the concert that they're going to is an artist that's like it's a pop artist that's, you know, target audience is for teenagers. How can you justify, you know, making this an appropriate environment to trap a serial killer in with hardly like much lead, with hardly much details? Because they don't even know what this fucking guy looks like, and they're trapping everybody in there with them. And they're just like, I'm like, how are they going about it? They're just tackling random dudes anyway. So that on its own was hard to fucking wrap my head around as I was watching it. And then, like, you have this pop star character in this movie, right? And M. Night Shyamalan like incorporates her as like a character that not is only focused on, it becomes like an integral role. But he is desperately trying to make her this heroic character of the movie. And it was just so annoying, not only narratively but like thematically. Because again, I'm going into spoilers here. It gets to a point where she basically traps herself in the bathroom of the serial killer's home, and she stole his phone, and on his phone he can just click a button and kill this dude that he's locked up in a basement somewhere in one of his, like, I don't know, 5 abandoned houses that he bought out or something. And that's the whole reason why he was able to get out of the stadium, is because he was able to like fucking like, you know, put her in the situations where it's like, hey, you either let me get out of here or I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. So eventually she traps herself in the bathroom and she has this fucking phone on her, and I'm like, and she starts like to live stream and tell people, hey, look for the landmarks so you can go help this guy that he has trapped. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like, get the phone, first of all, destroy his phone so he doesn't have access to kill him through the carbon monoxide, whatever thing that he has. He can basically kill the guy with the push of a button. That's the whole gimmick. And why not just fucking destroy the phone and then call the FBI? She literally has like the line to the FBI. Like, she could just call them and be like, hey, this is what's happening. They'll trace the line and they'll even go get the guy. As long as he doesn't have the phone, that the guy's safe. So I was just like, she starts live streaming, and I feel like M. Night only did this to, again, try to play up her character as this like heroic, like angelic, Jesus-like figure. And it goes like so far with it where like they're making her do way too much, and it even gets to a point where like she's trying to like manipulate the serial killer by like pretending to be his toxic, abusive mother. And it just goes so far to where the movie ends on her being this like perfectly good heroic character. And it's so weird to do that in this movie, because the beginning of the movie, while they're at the concert, it shows all of the teenage fans literally like obsessing over her, like glorifying her like she's fucking God, and, you know, to this really unhealthy degree. And it's like, what are you even saying thematically with that? Like, are you trying to say, what are you saying there? Like, that like, oh yeah, it's totally cool to be to obsessively worship your idols, and, you know, idolism is good because they are as great and perfect as human beings as you think they are. It's just a weird theme to have in the movie, especially again like in an era where we have a lot of like image obsessed people who again, like worship people that they see like on TikTok, or worship the artists that they that they love. And it's just like a weird thing to do that I just thought, like, what the fuck, like, why even do that? And then like the third act just gets really, really ridiculous. Like that, just putting that aside, I get like it's trying to showcase Josh Hartnett's character as being like this fucking like ninja who can just get in and out of any situation that he wants to. But it goes too far. It goes way too far. Like it does hit a point in the movie where I thought the movie was gonna end like on a really dark note. I thought I was like, oh shit. Like it gets to a point where I'm like, damn, like there's a scene where he's saying goodbye to all of his family, and he's telling him, hey, make sure to turn that science project in, and hey, you know, sorry for what I did. And then the garage door closes. And honestly, I thought he was just gonna fucking kill himself, because it kind of foreshadowed that he was gonna do that. But it doesn't. Then we got like 20 minutes left of the movie, and it's like, oh, he escaped through a secret tunnel, and the tunnel went through his neighbor's yard. And that's weird because the SWAT team knows this, and somehow he's able to slip away out of the SWAT team's grip, even though they know where he's going. And the next scene, we see him sneak into the limo where the pop star is at, and he's wearing all SWAT gear. Like he somehow got the better of a SWAT team member, got into all of his clothes, and then got into the limo, and then is now driving the limo away and kidnapping the pop star. It was like, what in the actual fuck is actually going on here? It just keeps going. It keeps getting more ridiculous and more ridiculous. And the more revelations that happen, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like the more I try to make sense of it, the less sense that it makes. And I just feel like, again, like Shyamalan, especially with this movie, he was too obsessed with just trying to tell this crazy story, too obsessed with, you know, having a lot of crazy ins and outs, having these twists that aren't even needed, that it just comes off like shallow and hollow and pointless and nonsensical. And I mean, he tries to have some substance, again, with him having like mommy issues and the mom being like abusive. We get like a few cool shots of like seeing her like staring at him, but we don't know who she is until the ending. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool, but it hardly does anything with it. So like it has potential, but it just didn't do anything with it. And then like in the ending, he had this whole revelation. Oh, you know, his wife was actually the one that tipped off the FBI about, you know, she saw a receipt from him going to the concert, and she was really suspicious that he was, you know, killing people. But it's like, that makes it even worse, because it's like she gave in a anonymous tip to the FBI and the police that he was going to be at this concert based on like little proof, based on what, a receipt and a hunch that he might be a serial killer. No photo ID of him, no, like there's literally nothing to go off of besides a very vague description. And somehow this is enough to get the FBI to fucking shut down a whole stadium. Not shut it down, but like create a whole stadium as a trap to get this fucking guy. And it just the more, again, it just really doesn't make sense. And then again, it ends on the fact of, oh, she serves him a pie and he eats the fucking pie, and then he dies because she poisoned the pie. Like, just, it gets to a point where it gets so predictable with how ridiculous it's going to be, and obvious it's going to be, that it's just so like, it's so disappointing. It really is. And it's like, why the fuck would you eat the pie either? It's like, again, because he's an arrogant, he's a narcissist, and that's why he's doing that. But it's like, it's so predictable, and it's so dumb to me. And it's like Shyamalan just kept writing and writing, and he just kept trying to find ways out of bullshit as he kept writing. And the more ways he tried to get out of his writing conveniences, the more inconvenient and ridiculous that it got. And that's the thing with this movie. It's filled with just like insane conveniences one after the other that don't make any fucking sense. And I don't know, it was just disappointing. Like, on top of the fact that, again, the dialogue, there's a lot of like wooden dialogue that's very on the nose. And again, the pop star, sorry to jump all over it, but this kind of has to do with it. The pop star character, to me, not really the best performance. Not very good actress. At least the direction wasn't good for her. Dialogue delivery was very wooden. Emotion was, I feel like, non-existent, not convincing. And again, like, the dialogue that was given to her is just bad. The dialogue given to a lot of people in this movie is just bad. And there's like scenes where, again, like the person that he has locked up in the basement somewhere, that whole scenario that we get, the whole like the imagery that we get from that, I was not convinced by. I was not convinced by. I mean, of course, I'm convinced that it's in the narrative in the movie, but I'm not convinced of it like in an immersive type of way. Like I look at this dude chained up in a basement with like one chain and like a perfectly clean looking like kitchen area or something, and it just doesn't look convincing. And his acting wasn't good either. Just the way that he screamed was like, again, like secondhand embarrassment. Hard. It's like one of those things like you kind of unintentionally laugh at. But yeah, it's like they need to put like more production design there or something. It's like they did it in 2 minutes and it just wasn't convincing. Let me just say that. Let me stop there. But yeah, I don't know, man. Sorry this kind of became like a spoiler review, but it's like a lot of things that I feel like I need to get off my chest because there's so many things that bother me about it in terms of the writing. It's like there needed to be a point. It got to a point where he needed to stop writing and just think about it and really just think hard about what he's doing and where he wants to go with the story. But every time he wrote himself into a corner, he had to write himself out of it, that then himself got into another fucking corner. And that's how this fucking movie feels. It's like, and one hole out of one hole into another hole, and then out of that hole into another fucking hole. And it just never ends until you leave the movie and you're really disappointed by it. And yeah, and again, it's like this movie's also like 15-20 minutes too long. It should have ended on this one note that I thought was going to be dark and like, you know, ballsy, and then it just keeps going forever. But yeah, I don't know. Like thematically, I feel like there's hardly anything here, and the stuff that is here thematically is like, what are you doing? Like it's not even a compelling theme. What are you even trying to say? And narratively, it's just fucking ridiculous. Again, the best thing about this movie to me is the main performance. That is it. So yeah, guys. If I'm gonna rate this movie, I'm gonna rate this movie I give it a generous soft 5 out of 10. Just because the main performance was good, and again, I think that first half has a lot of engaging moments, and overall, look, I still give him props for trying to do something original and different. You know, again, like it's just a really disappointing movie because to me, if I thought I had a lot of potential, and then I feel like it squandered so much as it went along. But that's all I gotta say. That's it. Have you seen Trap yet? Let me know in the comment section if you've seen it. If you have, let me know what you think about it, if you agree or disagree. And if you really like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.